Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hi, I hope you're having an awesome day today. This is Charlie Newton, and welcome to Splash Live Arts class. As you can see, I still have on my mask. I want to encourage you to continue to wear your mask so that we can protect our neighbor. Okay, and remember to wash your hands for 20 seconds. Wash your hands for 20 seconds. Practice social distancing at least 6 feet apart. And let's get rid of this virus. Let's keep our city healthy so that we won't have to shut down again. Okay, great. Well, today we are going to continue talking about perspective, and we're going to paint and draw. So we're going to paint in watercolors, and we're going to paint a landscape again using a fence one more time, once again. But we're going to do it a little bit different. So let's turn to our piece of paper and let's get started. Okay, you can use a 2B pencil, or, well, I suggest that you would use an H pencil. I'm going to use a 2B. Now, I need to sharpen my pencil, so I'm going to sharpen it. And it's very important that you follow instructions. So I'm going to be giving you some instructions, and the instructions are sort of like a test too. So remember, we said that art is all about vision and all about seeing. So sometimes there's a little bit of math sort of hidden in our art production. So this time what we're going to do, I want you to find the center of your paper, and then I want you to go down a little bit below the center. It's not quite a third, it's a little higher than a third, and lightly sketch a horizon line. The paper, this rectangle, the way I have the paper placed now, we call it landscape. And the reason why we call it landscape is so that students will know I want the paper to be horizontal and not perpendicular. If we turn the paper the other way like this we consider this portrait. And usually we do portraits on paper like this. We'll do a bust of a head, and the head would take up most of the paper. Landscape style, we can get a panoramic view in. So this is the horizon line. We call this flat piece of paper, what we are drawing on, we call that the picture plane. So we're sort of dividing the picture plane. Whatever is below this horizon line is going to be the ground. Whatever's above is going to be the sky. Also, whatever's below the horizon line is going to appear to come forward toward you. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a triangle. We're going to have a row of fence again, a fence, and we're going to have a row of posts. So what I'm trying to do is decide, and it's hard for me to do that. I have to turn my hand around. We're going to draw a triangle. Now, don't sketch your triangle yet, because I want to show you something. So the fence posts will fit into this triangle or triangular shape here. And we're going to have the fence go back far in the distance. So this bottom line is going to represent the ground, where the posts go into the ground. And this line, you don't need to use a ruler for this line here. It don't have to be perfectly straight, because we want it to look natural. And now, watch what I'm doing. At this, I'm going to allow this triangle to meet. The last time we didn't do that. I'm trying to find the top of the posts. We're going to have some stakes in the ground. And we're going to show wire on the fence. Okay, so this looks like a path right now. It looks like a road, but we're going to change. Some of the posts will be higher than the others. We want it to look very natural, like a farmer maybe went out one day and started banging stakes into the ground to be a little higher, kind of like that. And I don't mind that this line is crooked and not straight. I would not use a ruler. If I wanted it to be perfectly straight, I would use a ruler, but I don't want that to happen. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Now we're going to, on the left-hand side of your paper, I want you to go up a little bit, leave room for the sky. I want you to draw a mountain. The mountain's going to come out like that. Then it's going to slant down like a triangle as well. But we're going to put some curves in the mountain. See a little bump in the mountain like that. I'm looking at a picture, and your picture don't have to be exactly like what we're looking at, because we're just using the picture as a reference. And then in the background, there's some mountains. I don't know where this scene is. It may be in Colorado or something, but you won't see a scene like this in Chattanooga. So there's a mountain that comes up like this, and then there's a peak, then another peak, and goes over like that. It could be in Utah. I don't know. I don't know where this is. And then there's like some shapes of a mountain going like that. These are going to be painted mostly blue. Then in the background, there's a mountain. You draw a line above the line you just made. It comes over that mountain and pieces up knots and crannies, nooks and crannies, and lumps and bumps. Then it kind of goes down, flows down a little bit, comes back up and around. Then there's a peak here. We don't see these type of mountains that in the South, because it looks more like rock or something. A lot of rock. You can see a lot of rock. Let's put the clouds in the sky. Clouds kind of, this is like a circle. A lot of circles. And we can actually see something in the background at the bottom of the clouds. And you can do your clouds any way you want to, but it loops around like that. Okay, so we set the stage. Now, the sky is the farthest thing away from you. As far, you can't, you see the sky. And then next you have these mountains that's going to be in the background, far away from you. This mountain is a little closer, and this part of the mountain is even closer. You can see a little greenish color for the grass. And this mountain is very close to you. There's a little, I don't know what this is, a road going up that mountain. There may be a road or something. So there's a little division there. And there are some houses in here too on this plane. I don't know if I want to do, we won't do the house right now, I don't think, unless I change my mind. Okay, so this is how we're going to draw these poles for the fence. We're going to start this on the lower right-hand side of the paper, move in maybe 1/8 of the way into your paper. So if I divide the paper kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then the stake is going to be about right here, underneath this mountain. The top is going to be flat. It's not going to be, the top of the stake is not going to be at this angle. We just drew this triangle so that we would know where everything goes. So the top of these stakes are going to be straight, flat, straight across, okay? And the bottom you can't see for the grass, but we know where the bottom of the stake is because of these lines that we drew. And now move to almost the center of your paper, and just right of the center, let's make another stake. It would take too long to draw the top of the stake, and the bottom of the stake is covered with grass, see? And this is how we make grass, right? These little hash marks. We're going to paint this, so you don't have to draw too much detail yet. we're going to go back and put a little shading in. Now you see the width that we have here? We're going to close that distance a little bit for the next stake. This is the width. I'm putting the point of my pencil on this line, and I'm putting my fingernail on this line, and that's the width. So now I'm putting my fingernail on this line here of the stake. So I know if I make my line here, it'll be the same distance as that one, but I want to move it in. I don't want it to be the same distance. So I'm going to move it in. I'm going to make, now this stake here has to be a little wider and a little larger, because remember we said on Tuesday that when something is closer to you, it appears to be larger, and usually it would be at the bottom of your picture plane or your paper. Okay, now this one, I don't want this stake to be as wide as this one, so it looks like it's in the distance. The eye can't see it that well. I drew the sketch where I drew, some squares, some boxes. And I tried to make them, about the same size, but I actually made this one here a little bit larger. And I drew this face, and we see the picture plane here. When something's closer to you, it takes up more of your visual cone. When something's farther away, it takes up less vision, so it appears smaller. The vision, the way we see and the way we hear is similar. The way we hear is similar. Our sound, we hear sound in a cone. A speaker, it also projects sound in a cone. So there's something about this cone-like shape that we see in nature over and over and over again. A tree is like a cone-like shape. The bottom of the tree is wider than the top. So there's something about that. Now, okay, so I have this one, and I have this stake in the ground, this stick. So you see there's not as much space between these two as it is between these ones. And the next one is going to be even a little bit closer. So to make sure I make it closer, I'm going to measure it. We call this measuring. So I want to make sure that, see this mark here I made, it's the same distance basically from here to here. And I want it to be a little bit closer. And I can allow my lines to not be straight up and down. I want this picture to be a little bit more realistic. So if I, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If I allow this stick to lean a little bit, maybe it has been out here a long time. Maybe a cow tried to get through, get out of the pasture or something, and maybe the cow rammed this stick, and maybe that's why it's leaning. Maybe the ground got soft and it's leaning for that reason. Then the next one, hopefully, will be closer. A lot of times I'll eye it in, but as long as you make it, as long as you're thinking in this way, you don't always have to measure everything. Now I could actually make this stick higher than that one, it's fine. Remember, it's in grass, so you can't see the bottom. So this side, the grass is taller than this side of the fence. And we just do that all the way down. In drawing things like this now, the farmer would not have lined these up perfectly as far as the distance between the two. So it would be haphazard in real life. And so I'm going to raise my stake up high, that one up a little bit higher. I'm just, you want to make it haphazard sometimes. And then they come together in the background all the way off the page like that, see? So by making them small like this and then to large, it sort of opens up the space. Now we want a shadow on this side because the sun is on this side of the picture. So on the left side of the stake, you can sketch in a shadow. Okay, so on the left hand side, we're going to have tall grass. I'm just going to indicate some grass. There's a little gully here, so it's a little darker right in there. Indicate grass. We'll paint the grass in later. I'm going to spray this picture with hairspray. Now, in the art store, you can find something called fixative. And if you get the retouch fixative, that's what artists normally use. But I'm using hairspray because this is just practice. If I was doing something important, I would use the fixative. Fixative will come out a lot cleaner, but it's sort of toxic. So, it has a smell to it, so you want to, usually when you spray with fixative, you're going to leave the room. But if you use the retouch fixative, you can just wait for it to dry a few minutes, and you can use it all over again. So this grass. And when you paint, remember you're trying to paint grass. And the way you think is so important. And when you're doing art, you never think that you can't do something. We're just trying to figure out how to do it. And every time I draw, I'm trying to figure out how to draw something. I'm going to put a line of trees. So I'm drawing a line that's wavy and lumpy and bumpy, and I'm thinking trees. Some trees are small, some are taller. I'm going to let it go all the way across. And then look what I'm going to do, because I see it happening here. I'm going to draw this line higher, and the trees sort of go up the mountain, begin to travel up the mountain. And then there's actually a little farm here. I'm going to try to sketch this farm. You can sketch it by drawing a box. And those of you who've been in my class, we've drawn boxes before. And I'll just demonstrate here what I'm doing so that you can see it. Find a scrap sheet of paper. So there's a line here. This is the top of the barn. It's a triangular shape. It goes down like this, straight. This is like a square, right? Then it goes like that. I can barely see it. Okay, yeah. This actually, it has another, and it's short. See, the walls are not that tall. And then the hill is behind this barn. The hill that I just put the trees on is behind the barn. The barn comes down like this. It has a dark roof. Then it has a building that comes out like that, like this. This is just for a little detail. You don't have to do this on your picture. And this part is in shadow. And this part is in shadow. And there's an opening here. Those of you who live in the rural part of our county, you see these a lot. Then there's a line that comes down like this and down like that. It actually flares out a little bit, this wall. So anyway, that's what I'm drawing. So you can see how learning how to draw boxes and shapes comes in handy. Remember I said everything's made of shapes. So it's worth your time to practice shapes. Is worth your while. So I'm just going to transfer that, what I just did here, to the paper. And since it's so small, I don't have to worry about a lot of detail. I can just indicate it, and the person's eye will do the rest. So I wanted to get that grove, this part right here where this grove of trees go up this mountain. So if I draw this barn, you can see it better. Matter of fact, I'm gonna make this come out a little bit more. It's about right there. Let trees come out. Okay. I can easily get caught up in that. So when you're drawing by yourself, you don't care how long it takes to do something. You don't worry about time. It's an interior work. It's mindfulness. And you go into a beautiful place inside of yourself, the place where art lives, art and creativity. And you're doing it for yourself. You're not really doing it for other people. Even if you're going to have an art show, you make the art for yourself. And then if you want to, you can have an art show and show it to other people. And it's nice when other people want to see your art. So since you're doing it for yourself, that's why I don't want you to be hard on yourself about thinking you can't do something. You get frustrated sometimes. And I did when I was a kid. I got frustrated, and one time I even cried when I was in the 5th grade because I couldn't do something. But my teacher, Miss Hamilton, over here at James A. Henry School, she helped me. She spent about 2 minutes to help me and showed me that I could do it. I just didn't know how. And I loved art so much, and it really hurt my feelings that I couldn't understand. And so that's why my wife and I started Free Art School for Kids, because art changed my life. So we started Splash. Everything's free. Free classes, free supplies, free teaching, free mentoring, free encouragement, free fun, free art shows. For me, art, when I make art, it actually heals me. I could be sick. And when I come into the studio and start painting, I actually forget that I'm sick. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start painting. We're going to start with blue. Get a medium flat brush like this or like this. This is even better if you have one. This is a number 6 brush, a flat brush. We're going to put a wash. Now this is what we're going to do. We're going to use a blue. I'm going to dip my blue, my paint, I'm going to dip my brush into the water. And this blue, I've contaminated this blue with green. So I'm going to see if I can find some more blue. I need to get another. So this is the same blue that you guys have. And what I want to do, I'm going to use, no, I don't like that blue. No, I'm not going to use that. That's not the same blue that you have. So see how you have to judge everything? If you see something you don't like, don't do it. So that blue has too much red in it. So I'm not going to use that one. See if this blue is more like yours. Yes, this is the kind of blue you have. So this is the blue I want. And I want this blue to be a little darker than the one we did last class. And I'm going to trace around the clouds. I don't know why some kids paint the clouds out. We use the drawing. You use the drawing, okay? The drawing is the foundation for your picture. So I'm tracing around the clouds. The clouds are white. So I'm not painting, at this point, I'm not painting in the clouds. I am going to though, because I'm going to show you how to paint the underside of the clouds. This is where the sun is not, you don't see as much sunlight. Your blue don't need to be flat. We need to see the paper through it, and it don't need to be even. So your blue can change in the sky. So some areas are a little darker than others. Okay? That's fine. It looks more real. Some areas I might want to smooth out. So look what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to draw. Watch this. I'm going to paint rather. I keep saying draw because we think of watercolors as drawing. So I'm going to draw the sky that's in the background underneath these clouds. But then I'm going to do something that's a lot of fun. And I'm going to change my brush to a round brush. I think a round brush would do this a little bit better. Not a small round brush. I mean, this is pretty small, but it's not as small as this other one I'm going to show you. So in your splash kits, some of you have brushes this small. I don't want the round brush this small. I want it something like that or a little larger, okay? And this is fun. I'm going to draw the shadows in the clouds with blue. I'm using the tip of my brush, and I'm still thinking clouds. The water, if I allow the brush to be wet, see how I'm just leave some white in some areas, okay? I'm drawing the shadows. Some clouds are behind other clouds. These clouds are rolling. When people think of America, they think of rolling mountains and rolling clouds, the majesty of rolling clouds and all that. See? Some parts are dark, some parts are light. See how dark I made that? But I'm not going to make the whole thing dark. You just dip the brush in the water and it'll lighten up. Just think about clouds in front of clouds and clouds behind clouds. And we're using blue for the clouds. See? It's all about your mind, your thinking. What's in your mind? And again, try this more than once. This is something that like dance, you have to learn the steps. And that's what we're doing. We're just going through steps. Like in music, you have to learn the notes. Next time you're outside tomorrow, look up in the sky, see if you see any clouds. What do they look like? See, I made that dark, but I'm going to add some water to this to kind of blend it. Okay, now I made my sky. I'm going to repaint my sky a little bit. I want to highlight that area a little bit more. So I repaint the sky. I'm going to go ahead and get my other brush. I like variation. Now, in my natural art, I might have several colors up here in the sky. Now, you heard the song that says something about Purple Mountain's majesty? This time we're going to get blue. We're going to use some blue and purple. So I'm going to use this blue right here. Now I'm going to find some purple, add it to the blue. And that's what we're going to paint the mountains with. The mountains should be a little darker, a little heavier. So don't use as much water in your paint for the mountains. Now, I'm going to start with this one in the background over here. I'm going to leave some white to show variations in these mountains. I'm going to go back over it with other colors later. So basically I'm using purple and blue. See how I left the white? I'm going to go back over that with something. I might go back over it with a very light purple. Yeah. Let's just get some water, put some water on your brush and go back with the water. We'll do it that way. Let's make it simple. I try to use as few colors in doing these as possible for right now. Because as a beginner, you don't need to use a whole lot of colors yet. I may go back over this, but I want to go do this one first. Now this one, I'm going to try to get a dark bluish purple. Then I'm going to add green to it. And I'm showing you a way to do it. This is not the only way to paint this, of course. So we're sort of doing, some would call it a monochromatic painting, but we're starting using monochromatic colors, and that's using one color, the same colors. See these lines, I'm making these lines do this because that's what I see on the picture. Now I need a dark blue, get purple and blue. So these paints I'm using, basically, it's the same. I have the same colors on this row as in this box here. It's the same colors. This row is a variation of colors, but it's basically the same colors. I'm going to do something interesting. This blue is nice, but it's not dark enough, so I'm going to add some more purple to it, and hopefully that makes it dark. Now, I could add red to it, and I'm trying to resist adding red, but I may not be able to. So we paint in layers. So you see this purple I'm using here, which is not dark enough for me yet, but I need to see it. I'm going to go over this. This dark purple, I'm going over that later, and it may darken it the way I want it to. So the paper I'm mixing this paint on is it's too thin. Excuse me, getting a little cold in here, so I'm going to have to get some more paper, different paper that can take me mixing paints. Okay. And what's happening is my paintbrush is picking up some of the paper, and I'm painting with paper. So that's why I need to get another sheet of paper to mix paint on. So blue. Remember, always clean your brush before you change colors. And purple, mix that together. Control the amount of water that's in your brush. Make sure you have control over that. It's very interesting. Now I'm mixing, I'm overlaying. This is called glazing. And what I'm doing, just painting over. I'm gonna put some purple here to show you something. I'm painting over some of this blue in the mountains, this mountain in the background. Making it darker too. With the purple and blue. Now I'm going to get some more blue. I'm going to do a wash over this blue. And I'm going to use green, but I just want this a little darker before I use the green. I'm going to go ahead and put some blue down here for the shadows of the trees. And then I'm going to go over it with green. I can use purple. And by using the same colors, what it does is it gives my picture a little bit of color harmony. Okay. Now I'm going to get green and just put some green somewhere on your paper. And the green can be dark, so you can mix the green with purple. You can mix it with the blue. But we're looking for a dark green. And I'm going to go over this one on the left-hand side. And I want a darker green. I'm just going to go over this one. I could use some red in there too. Now I'm going to even go back to the lighter green and paint some of these shadows in and leave some highlights. There's some brown back there, but I'm not going to use brown. I don't want to get too complex with this. Your picture may not look exactly like mine, and that's because we're two different people. And we see things differently, and that's perfectly okay. What I want to do now is I want to use yellow before we have, so now I have a lot of water, and it's dark. You can see it's blue, purplish blue. You can't see it? Okay. But I can still use it. I can still use the water. You don't have to change the water. Now, wherever there's sun hitting this landscape, I want it to be lighter, so I'm going to go ahead and use yellow. I could use an ochre, but we don't have an ochre, and I don't want to mix an ochre yet. Ochre is a dark yellow. If I mixed a little brown with this yellow, it would be ochre. But it's not necessary at this point to do that. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and paint the rest, everything, the ground. Let's just paint it yellow and make it easier. Don't worry if the yellow gets into the stakes. Try to paint around it, but if you can't, oh, I forgot to spray my picture. You see, you don't really have to spray the picture. But you have to pay close attention to what you're doing. So this yellow is what we call the underpainting. It's going to show through in places later. And it shouldn't take you long to put the yellow down, okay? You don't have to be careful because we're going to do a lot of marks. In some places the yellow turned dark because of my pencil, and that's okay. And this little ridge here, this little hill, this first mountain, go ahead and paint that yellow. Okay. And this little field behind the barn, paint that yellow. So now we can kind of see where everything goes. Now I want you to get a round brush again because this flat brush is not going to work as well. Dip your brush into the green. Let's paint these trees. These trees on the horizon line. Remember, the trees are growing up, it's not flat. You have to think trees in your mind. We're going to go back and paint the shadows back in where I have the blue. We're going to do that. Follow your drawing. You already have drawn it. A lot of times you may paint the drawing out, but just remember what you did. Now, what I want to do is the green on this hill here, I want it to be darker, so I'm going to mix the green with some of the purple or the blue. I'm trying to get a darker green, a muted green, and paint that in. Then I'm going to go back with a dark color to paint some shadows. So you see how when the green hits the yellow, look at my brush strokes, circular. I'm thinking about trees and grass, but it's in the background. It's so far away we can't see a lot of the detail. It's further than our eyes can see. So now I need a dark green, so I'm going to mix the green with the blue. A little bit of purple. I don't want it to look blue though. I want it to look like a dark green. The red and the purple will make the green look darker. I could also add a little red paint. I'm going to add a little red to it so you can see what happens. It darkens the green as well. If you add a little red to green, see that's green. I'm going to add some red to it. See, it makes it real dark. You might make it dark, too dark though. It may make it dark red, so don't you do that. It's hard to control. I just need a little red to make it dark. Now I'm going to paint the shadows of the trees if I can. Add some purple. I'm just painting some dots here. Add a little blue to the green. I just want it to be dark. Paint some dots. See that? Each dot is a tree. Each time I dab it, it's called scumbling. Each time I dab the point, that represents a tree. I just want that in the background. Now I'm getting some clean green. See, clear. I'm going to paint it over the yellow, this yellow here, so that you can see this ridge in the back here. Okay. I want a few more shadows. Get some dark green. Now, I don't normally, personally, I don't paint with watercolors that often. But there are some people in the watercolor society that I know that, man, they're really good with watercolors. But I just want you to be introduced to this medium. And it's going to make you a better painter all around. I think if you can paint with watercolors, I think you can paint with anything. Let's paint the fence. Let's use a dark purple. For purple, I'm mixing it with the green and the blue to get, it's almost black. See that? It looks almost black. You get a real grayish purple when I mix it with the blue and green. I'm painting the shadows that's on the fence. Just one stroke. Now I'm going to need a smaller brush to paint those. Or a brush with a smaller point anyway. I might be able to do it with, no, that's too wide as well. So I'll get the little small brush. The right hand side of the poles is where the light it's hitting it the most. So I leave the right hand side unpainted. I'm only painting the left hand side of these posts until I get back into the background back here. So I mix the green, the purple, and the blue. I can get a real nice dark color. Now, as you paint the smaller ones, you can paint, it can go dark. You don't have to paint a highlight. You don't have to leave the highlight. You just want to indicate. And while we're back there, let's paint the roof of the barn with that color too. I want you to get a little red. We're going to try something. Get a little red, mix it with the purple. See that little reddish purple color? My dog, my puppy's getting excited. He's coughing or something. Just putting a little red on the barn. Just indicating the barn back there. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, let's get some brown. We have time. Get a little brown, put it on your paper. So we can allow it to be thin, add a little blue with it. We're still trying to use the same colors so that we will have some harmony. You can also use yellow. I don't know, I like the brown. Yeah, let's add a little yellow to the brown and purple. Add a little yellow, see that? And let's just sort of, that's too yellow right there. It needs to be more brown, so. You never know if it's going to work or not. I don't anyway. Some people do. For me, nothing's ever etched in stone. That means I leave myself open to change. Reason why I'm using this brown, I want people to know that this is wood. I had to repaint that shadow there. I need to repaint this shadow so you can see a highlight. Repaint that one, repaint this one. I'm using dark purple to do that. And now what I'm going to do is get a brush. I forgot to get my fan brush. We're going to paint the grass. If you have a fan brush, it's easier to paint the grass with a fan brush. But you can get a raggedy brush and do this. Just something. My brushes are stuck. But basically what you want to do, this is just a thin brush. I'll just use this one. Just use the colors that's already on here. And around the poles, I need a darker green. Just do some hash marks all the way down. Get a little brown too. Let's mix it up. We're going to mix it up today. Get a little brown too. You can mix some brown and green and purple. You can mix it all. We just need a dark color to show where the posts are going into the ground and the grass has grown up around it. don't forget we are using the drawing still. My drawing tells me where to make these marks. See how dark that green is? That's what I want. I can use some purple, blue, whatever. I just need some dark colors. So this green is not quite as dark. I'm using the side of the brush now. Now, if I had a fan brush, it would really work. But I'm just thinking grass, just trying to make some hash marks to paint grass. Sometimes I put yellow in. I put a little yellow in the green, just now right here. So I'm mixing the colors that I've already used. And the variation makes it look more like grass to me. I need a wider brush. But in the foreground, remember you can see more detail in the foreground. The foreground is the bottom of your paper, the bottom of your sheet of paper. It's closest to you. When you do this, now this is a technique that I love to use when I'm using acrylics. You can paint the way the grass grows, right? From bottom to top, like that. That's when you want to get even more detail. This is a weathered scene. You know, the sun maybe has burnt the grass. So I'm mixing some brown and yellow to show that this grass here has been burnt by the sun. It's dead. So by mixing these colors up, it makes it look a little bit more realistic. Using the side of the brush. Get a little brown and yellow. And paint the burnt grass in the background. Barely touching the paper. The brush is dry. It's a dry brush technique. Now, if you watch every class, you hear me talk about these techniques. Every class builds on the next class. And then sometimes we'll be doing something more realistic. Sometimes we'll be doing something more abstract. Right now, we're not painting with acrylics or oil paints. We're just trying to practice with the watercolors right now because it's more practical for us. My own paintings are mostly done with oil paint, and I may start doing some of those, but when we get funding so that you can have some oil paints, maybe we'll do acrylics first. And my wife is Iantha is really good with acrylics. She's good with all of it, but she can paint in acrylics a little bit better than I can, I think. Maybe we can get her to show you some of her techniques. I want my green to be darker. You see how when I barely touch the paper, even though I'm painting this way, you still, with a dry brush, you still kind of get the feeling of grass. So you have to have patience. We talked about that the last time. So you will continue to do this until you finish. I'm going to just finish it really, really fast now since we're almost out of time. I'm going to finish this really fast for you so you can see. But in my mind, this is what I want to get across to you. You know, you have to think right in your mind. You have to think positive, number one. But think about what you're painting. And if you can see it in your mind, your hands will lead you and guide you and show you how to do it eventually. And you keep working on something until you're finished, okay? If you don't like how it looks, that means keep working on it. You don't quit and say, I want to start over. That's a mistake, because every time you start over, you forget, you start, it's just like going backwards. You want to go forward, and that's how you learn, and that's how you get better. You get better by going forward and not starting over. Starting over is like, it's the worst thing that you can do is start over. Okay, we don't erase. We fix things. Okay, I think I can stop that there now. I think that kind of. I think you get the gist of what we're doing. But I could paint on this another hour, and I would still have a painting as usual. What I want you to do is sign your picture. I would say the left-hand side, and sign it with your age. Oh, one more thing I wanted to do. Get your dark green, and I want you to go over the mountains. I forgot about that. You see what happens when you go over this with the green, dark green? Yeah, just go over that a little bit with the dark green. Okay? In different areas. It don't have to be all over. It sort of brings it together. Now, it's simple to string the wire on this fence. Just get a small brush. And that's how you string the wire. All right. Thank you for joining us for another live splash class. We enjoy coming to you and sharing these techniques with you. I hope that you will join us every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 6, and every Saturday from 11 to 12. Until next time, remember, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.